everyone, and welcome to this short guide for Assessment Task 2 in EDUC3032 Classroom Management. In this video, I will walk you through the key requirements of the task and show you some tips to help you produce a really strong submission. Please make sure that you also read the full assessment brief and the student writing guide, which provides annotated script samples and a detailed checklist. The Assessment Task 2 brief and Assessment Task 1 brief are your go-to references. They're the key reference documents for both of these tasks. So Assessment Task 2 is slightly different. It builds on Assessment Task 1. It's a narrated presentation that simulates a graduate teacher interview. So a teaching interview when you finish your course. You'll design one lesson for a class of 26 students in a Western Sydney government school that uses a positive behaviour or PBL learning framework. Your presentation must walk the interview panel through your lesson, explaining how your planning, instructional decisions, and behaviour support strategies are informed by relevant policy. So that's national, state, or local policy, institutional policies, educational policies within the school, theory, and whole person approaches. The presentation is approximately 10 minutes, give or take 10%. With a maximum of 8 slides, not including a reference slide. You must address 4 named students across all 3 MTSS tiers and reference at least 3 mandatory policy documents. This is not a general philosophy presentation. It is a scenario-based lesson walkthrough. So let's have a look more closely at the 4 named students, and all of these details are in the task brief for Assessment Task 2 and in the student guide. So your class scenario includes 4 named students whose needs you must address throughout your presentation. Amara has cerebral palsy, uses a wheelchair, and has an IEP or an individual education plan. She receives SLSO, Student Learning Support Officer or Teacher's Aide support in the classroom. She is Tier 3. Zara has generalised anxiety disorder with selective mutism and also has an individual education plan. She's also Tier 3. And Ethan is on a Tier 2 behaviour support plan following a cyberbullying incident. Ryan has a history of low-level disruption that escalates when he is publicly confronted, and he is on a Tier 2 re-entry behaviour agreement. So following 2 suspensions where he was asked to, be absent from school with work provided for 1 or up to 2 days. Following that, he's on a re-entry behaviour agreement. Each of these students has different needs, different family communication requirements, and different adjustments. You'll need to read Task 2 brief and the student guide very carefully to understand more about the cultural context of the school, the class that you're teaching, and these 4 students in particular. Generic strategies that do not name these students will not meet the standard for this assessment task. So let's look at the context. The first part of your task, Part A, which I would recommend is the first 2 slides of your up to 8 slide presentation, is the context analysis. And this should take about 3 to 4 minutes of your presentation. So not quite half of your presentation. This is where you analyse the scenario and establish the foundation for your lesson. In slide 1, you introduce yourself, your subject area, and year level. In slide 2, I would identify the key learning and behavioural needs of all 4 named students. For Amara and Zara at Tier 3, identify the NCCD adjustment level and justify this. For Ethan and Ryan at Tier 2, identify areas of differentiation needed. Then connect your planning to at least 3 mandatory policy documents, and these might be within your school, so school policies, that relate to behaviour management, classroom management, state policies that relate to classroom or behaviour management, or national policies that relate to classroom or behaviour management. And these references have been provided in the Task 2 student guide and the Task 2 assessment brief, references for these policies and theories. Finally, outline the universal Tier 1 strategies you will establish for all of the 26 students. This section is about analysis and planning. Do not describe specific lesson strategies here. Save those for Part B. So Part B is the lesson walkthrough, and this is your slides 3 to 7. This is my recommendation. It should take about 6 to 7 minutes, and this is where you walk the panel through your lesson. Each slide maps to a criterion in the rubric. Slide 3 covers lesson design and explicit instruction, the structure, routines, transitions, learning goals, and how MTSS organises the lesson. Slide 4 covers student adjustments and inclusive practice, specific adjustments for each named student, and how you monitor effectiveness. Slide 5 covers positive behaviour, communication strategies for respectful interactions, and your parent communication plan for each family. Positive behaviour for learning expectations, early intervention, and proactive inclusive approaches is the focus for slide 6, and your cyberbullying response for Ethan. Slide 7 is the contingency reflection, where you identify one moment in your plan where a strategy may not work, and you provide a contingency or an alternative to that strategy. So that's about forward planning and thinking ahead. Your presentation must include a parent and carer communication plan tailored to each family. This is not optional, and it's not to be generic. So Amara's parents are strong advocates who communicate via email, so share strength-based updates. Zara's parents are concerned about misinterpretation of her silence, her selective mutism, so proactively share evidence of her written participation. Ethan's parents are separated and both must be contacted, so be mindful of privacy and consistency as you develop your parent communication plan. Ryan's mother works shift work and is hard to reach, so some examples of strategies are that you might consider using the homeschool communication book with positive notes, not only behaviour reports. And you must also embed the school's positive behaviour for learning expectations, or PBL. Be kind, be brave, be your best throughout your lesson, using consistent language and routines. Before you submit, here are a few practical tips. Your narrated presentation must play through consistently or continuously. Do not record each slide separately, so it should just be played continuously. The marker should not have to click to advance the slides. Keep your slides visual and concise. My suggestion is to use a range of infographics as well, so that they're visually appealing. The slides should support your narration. They don't replace it. So don't put your full script on the slides. I would recommend using Canva if you're familiar with that, PowerPoint or Prezi. Include in-text citations on slides in APA 7th edition format. Your script of approximately 1,500 words does not need to be submitted as a Word document. But you'll be graded on the contents of your recording, and a transcript will be created. You need to save your MP4 to SCU OneDrive and set the sharing to Can View. Paste the link at the top of page 2 of your Word document. So your document should contain firstly the cover page all completed, and then at the top of the second page there should be a link, whether it's a YouTube link, private YouTube setting, or another format at the top of the Word document. Before you submit, use the checklist in the student writing guide to review your presentation. Make sure your narration runs approximately 10 minutes, give or take 10% either side. You have 8 slides or fewer, and you have addressed all 4 named students. You've referenced at least 3 mandatory policy documents. You've included a parent communication plan for each family, and you've included a contingency reflection for a specific moment in your lesson. Check that your OneDrive link works and is set to Can View. Submit your cover page and script. Don't submit your script, but submit your cover page with a link to the video. And most of all the very best with your assessment. Please reach out if you have any questions in the discussion forum. Bye for now.